Patreon, going strong. If you want to go over there and join in on the fun, we got 3 tiers on Canadian dollars. First tier is $3 a month, where you get these episodes ad free. You also get AMAs once a month, or learn about me episodes once a month. And then on the second tier, which is $5 a month, you get everything from the first tier, as well as coverage of a reality show of yesteryear. That's right now Jersey Shore, currently in season 3. You can also go to the main feed, where there will be the first episode of every season released there. So you can try that before you head over to the Patreon. And then on the third tier, you get everything from the first 2 tiers, as well as coverage from a true crime documentary. We got the backlog of Ashley Madison documentary, Man with 1,000 Kids, Into the Fire, Lacey Peterson, and again, all those episodes for the first episode of each is in the main feed, so you can try that before you head over. So if you are interested, you can head over to patreon.com/realityt times 2, and you can sign up for whichever tier you feel for. Again, you can try before you buy, which basically means you can try any tier for a week before committing to it. Even if you are on other tier, if you are on tier 1 or the first tier and you want to go over to the second tier, you could still try that second tier for a week before committing to the upgrade. So again, that is at patreon.com/realityt times 2. And of course, the link is in the show notes, website, social media accounts. It's all available there. Hi everyone. So I have a new product for you to go take a look at. This is with Pink Salt Wall. So they're a source of pure Himalayan salt. I think we all kind of, have our salt lamps and everything, which I do have. But with them, they offer high quality Himalayan pink salt products that can enhance your environment and help with respiratory and skin issues. Their collection includes Himalayan salt bricks, tiles, building blocks, licking salt blocks for your animals. That sounds interesting. Salt lamps and cooking plates and much more. All their products are shipped directly from their factory in Pakistan and are available locally through their warehouse in Maryland, United States. So yeah, if you're interested in taking part in that, you can go down to the show notes where you'll see a link to their website through me. So you're supporting them as well as supporting the podcast as well. So if you go to www.pinksaltwall.com/Tanika Thomas, that's all in caps, you can partake in these amazing products and again, support the podcast. Now it's enough of me. Let's head back to the podcast. This episode is ad-free on the Patreon. So if you want to partake in that, you can head on over to patreon.com/realityt times 2. Welcome to Reality T times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Tanika, and today we're going to be discussing The Last Resort, episode 5. So let's just jump right in. So, we're back at the, do you know how divorce works here conversation that Patrick has now started with Guillermo. And Shekinah's like, again, we hear her say the line of, I hate everything that you say when you say it or some shit. And Shekinah is going in on him about, you're not helping, basically shut the fuck up. Clearly, you're telling him how he can punish her, in my honest opinion, for the content that she's creating. That's all he's really doing here. And that's what's disgusting. Yes, it's disgusting that he's literally telling him that, he can come after her money, but it's also disgusting that he's even saying it because it's like, he's like, well, I'm just trying to help him figure out how she can stop. No, you're punishing her. That's what you're doing. And that's kind of gross. And they basically say to Guillermo, listen, you can't ask her to stop unless like you're going to do something, like, give her something, make her. And again, Guillermo takes that very literally. Like he has to match penny for penny what she's making. I don't think that is what she's asking for. I don't think that anyone else is even really saying here. What they are saying is that you need to be able to provide some form of stability in her life, um, that she will feel comfortable not doing those things. And if you can't provide that, or you are not willing to provide that, you then can't come at her and say to her that what she is doing to support herself and her son is wrong. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say that he obviously has his values and this is a value thing for him. He doesn't want his wife doing these things. I'm not saying that that's not a legitimate feeling. Um, what I would do versus what Kara would do is two different things. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to judge her for her decisions to do what she's got to do for her and her kid. So that's the biggest thing here. And what we're still not fucking talking about, that we never talked about in HEA, we haven't yet talked about here, is Guillermo has proven to her already, prior to them splitting, that he is not reliable. He's young. He's figuring himself out. You can't go around quitting your job just because you decide you want to fly a fucking plane one day and you take away viable, or yeah, well, I say viable, but things that are important in your household, like health insurance. You have a kid. So that's on him. I'm not saying that what she's doing is the right choice, but it's the right choice for her. But because it's the right choice for her, and also knowing the history with Guillermo's decision making, yeah, I don't blame her for being like, I gotta do what I gotta do because I don't know what you're gonna do. The woman was already working like multiple jobs when she's always been a hustler, working multiple jobs. And I believe she was working multiple jobs when he quit his job in the first place. Now, he's working now, great. But when is it going to be the next shoe? When's the next shoe going to drop? And I think that would be a concern for anybody, especially when there's a kid involved. So, yeah, as I've mentioned, he says like he thinks that he can't compete with the money that she's making. Um, and I already talked about how I felt about the fact that he doesn't consistently keep a job. So let's move forward. Back with the workout, the laugh, the boot laugh, whatever it's called. Paula is going to show us how to wrestle, y'all, and she attacks him it. Yeah, he actually really does like wrestling, and he's actually fantasized about Jenny wrestling him, but she doesn't want to do that. That'd be fun. Sounds like a great idea. So maybe he's a little kinky after all, because he's like, we're not kinky. I think he might be just a little kinky, submit. But anyways, Rez and Paula have not actually wrestled in the bedroom before, but I think maybe they should. That might actually help spice some things up. What do you mean, baby? Maybe you need to be doing that. But they talk about the conversation that they had at the banquet and about Patrick's comment about money and how women could be bought and that kind of thing. And saying how like they're acting like hookers and blah blah blah. And they're saying like that word is kind of a stretch. But it's not about money. And this is what the men don't fucking realize. They're so literal And when they hear about money, now maybe they shouldn't be using the term money, but I think for most women, I think we can all agree, yes, there's some women who want men with money, but what it all kind of comes down to is security, feeling secure in your relationship. I don't need my man to be making six figures and all of this shit. No, I don't need that. But what I do need is the security that when shit gets tough, you're there. And yeah, so I think that's the biggest thing. And that's what the men are missing here. And Kara kind of takes this opportunity to talk to Sarper, another person who really and truly was a sex worker at some time. Not sex worker in the sense of, you're out there, well, he wasn't having sex for money, and he says as much. But, sex work is work, right? And this is a form of sex work. Stripping is a form of sex work. Selling pictures is a form of sex work. So she's going from sex work to sex worker. Like, how did he handle things like when he was stripping? And um he basically says, like, like he did what he had to do, but he never had sex for money. He's like, sure, brides would want to have sex with me, and yeah, maybe I would have sex with them, but like he never was bought. Um, she does ask him, like, what does he think about her pictures? And the fact that she's doing the pictures, I think, is also the bigger thing. And he says, I only care about your son. He's like, I only care about what he's gonna think down the road about what you're doing. And he says, listen, the only reason I stopped stripping is because apparently there was like a magazine, like a Turkish magazine that I feel like I knew this before too, that had his picture on it. He didn't realize that his picture was going to be on this magazine. Dad saw the picture in the magazine and basically said to him, you got to stop that or I'm disowning you. And he chose his family over that. So that was basically it. But he says when it comes to her doing what she's doing for her, when it comes just her only, no one else, he says, I don't care. Because at the end of the day, it is your body and you're going to do what you want with your body. Um, which I thought was a great response. So everyone is going out tonight. We're going to be letting off some steam. I may be adding some because it's a night off, no therapy. So they're going to go to like a bar or whatnot. Before we get to that though, so Pal and Russ, so she did her homework. She was able to find eight erogenous zones on Russ. And he even actually had a happy ending. So she's gotten an A+ on her homework, she says. As for him though, it's like a C- because he didn't do the same for her. Which is like, okay, so you can't even pinpoint erogenous zones on her body. That isn't about intercourse or anything. You can't even do that. Are you kidding me? Something ain't right, man. So we're on our way to this bar. Well, on the way to the bar, submit, submit, submit. Let's Kyle beg that Sarper was talking shit on Rebecca during the boot laugh. And the problem is that Rebecca and Ziada are in the same car as Smith and Jenny. But, he was joking. He was joking. It was fine. It's not funny. It's not, no one finds this funny. And she says it's at this point, it's just him digging. She's like, I would dig him a hole. It would be a big hole. It would have to be able to be big enough to fit his ears in there. Oh, we're going for it, aren't we? We're just hitting on things that are insecure for him. And she says that I will be confronting him tonight about him constantly still talking about me. So we are just swinging lights in this place, about to hit people in the goddamn face. Like seriously, it looks like it's pretty hard, like lamps that they're just like swinging, swinging, and literally, like I think it was like Thais. She's like, oh my god, she's like backing up because that thing is going to poke an eye out. Those things are going to poke an eye. It's like 5 of them. They're going to poke an eye out. Why are you doing that? What is the purpose? And all I can think of, the dust flying off that shit, because you know they don't clean them. You know they don't. So all you're going to be doing is getting knocked in the face while also getting a face full of fucking dust. What is going on? Anyways, so Rebecca goes to confront Sarper, and he says, listen, I just made a joke. But then, like the man's he's supposed to be, Ziad goes with her and basically says, listen, you gotta stop. You gotta stop talking about my wife. It's not funny. And Sarper ends up apologizing to Ziad again and gets and says like it's unnecessary. But he still has not apologized to Rebecca. That's where his apology needs to be going to. He hasn't done that though. We're starting to realize though that Kara and Guillermo in the meantime are definitely being flirty and they're dancing together. More on that later. Or maybe I think it might be in the next episode. But anyways, then Ziad starts playing the bongos and it's kind of turning up like on a little bit. And then you would think just the blasphemy that Sarper ends up getting up and dancing at the bar. I'm kidding. Because Rebecca's having a tizzy about the fact that Sarper is, in her words, upstaging Ziad. Okay? Before we get to all of that, though, Shekinah says, listen, people might think I'm crazy and think that I didn't marry him because he was a stripper. Actually, I did marry him because he was a stripper. Because confidence, am I right? It's back to Rebecca. Yeah, so she's mad that Sarper is upstaging Ziad. She's like, I was trying to take a video of Ziad and he just ruined it. He just ruined it. And then Ziad is like, where did Rebecca go? Because no one thinks there is an issue. Everyone was having fun with Sarper dancing on the bar, Ziad doing the bongos. Everyone's having fun except for Rebecca because she has to have a hissy fit that she wasn't able to take a video of Ziad, which no one was stopping you from taking a video of Ziad. You stopped yourself from taking a video of Ziad. But anyways, and then Rebecca comes out and she says to Ziad, that pissed me off that he like was trying to upstage you. And no one gives a fuck. You need to calm the fuck. You need to calm down. You need to calm down. You're being too loud. Okay. Jesus. So then we see Sarper talking to Russ and he says, I know I shouldn't joke about Rebecca. You know, I shouldn't joke about her when she's not there. And Shekinah's like, she's watching you. And he's like, I know. How could he not know? He must feel the eyes of her on his back. But he does take the opportunity to apologize to her and say, listen, I shouldn't have done that. You know, especially when you're not there. He's like, I'll do it when you're there. He's like, but I definitely should have done it when you weren't there. And she seems to accept the apology for now. But what was funny was she's like, I really wanted to kick him. I really wanted to. But now he apologized and I can't. So at one point, Paula thinks that Guillermo was staring at her boobs. And I'm just like, maybe, maybe not. Who knows? I don't know. And then Guillermo is told to kiss Kara, you know, whatever. But he kisses her hand instead, and you're just like, ugh, just get it done already. Fuck. The tension. He hates her though. And then Patrick comes over after Rebecca and Sarper have hashed the shit out. Patrick has to go with his sassy ass self and stirs up more shit between Sarper and Rebecca when it's not been done. And Shekinah goes off on him and says, no, we're not going to deal with this. It's all over now. Like, I don't know why we have to keep talking about something that's over. And Patrick is like, Shekinah hates me. Yeah, she does hate you. Sarper says she thinks they're calling people hookers. And she says, like, I don't like what you stand for. You have a poor man's mentality, because she does leave at one point, comes back, and this is the conversation that's happening. And she's telling Patrick to his face, you have a poor man's mentality. Now, I don't know if I would go as far as to say he has a poor man's mentality. What I would say more than anything is he has a mentality of a person who thinks you owe me everything when we're going through a divorce, when it's like, I, I don't know. It's too complicated. But anyways, he's like, or she says, you keep making it seem like we're all gold diggers. And I think, I don't remember who it was, but there was someone that's like, um, or was it, I don't know if it was now or was it maybe a bit later, but I do remember Paula saying at one point that gold digging for what? What am I gold digging for? But Thais says, you're, you're picking on him. Like, can you stop picking on him? And Shekinah's like, I'm not. I'm not picking on him. Thais gets triggered by Shekinah because she keeps telling her, stop pointing your finger, stop pointing your finger. But Shekinah is pointing her finger, setting Thais off. And here's the thing. This scene we're about to enter into is pretty goddamn controversial. And I saw it. I've seen all the messaging, all the shit. And here's what I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to go through the facts. I'm going to go through my thoughts. Facts are, Shekinah's pointing a finger, triggering Thais in some way. And Thais tells her to shut her mouth and starts, I don't know if she broke the glass or what happened, but she is proceeding to kind of like throw what appears to be throwing glass at Shekinah. And maybe things would have been different. Maybe people would have been like, whoa, whoa, maybe we don't do that, until Shekinah has to open her big goddamn mouth. And she's like, you know, get her away from me, get her away from me. And then she says, go back to your country. And now everybody is now turning on her. Those are the facts. Thoughts. I've seen a lot of commentary about Shekinah's in the wrong, Shekinah's in the wrong. Here's the deal. For me, this is not a whether she's better than the other one, or Thais is better than the other, or I'm team Shekinah, or I'm team Thais. I'm team fucking nobody. Both of these women acted disgustingly in the moment. I know her charges that Patrick, had on her has been dismissed, but they were there. And they were there for a reason. And it kind of just makes you wonder, there's clearly a violent streak with her and with Thais, and like, I can't condone that. You took a glass and you were trying to throw broken glass at another person. That is disgusting beyond belief. And this victim mentality that Thais starts with pisses me off. On the other hand, Shekinah saying things like, go back to your country, and tries to justify her comments is also disgusting. You are in a room full of immigrants, you dumb, stupid bitch. And they're both disgusting in their own way. This is not a Shekinah sucks or Thais sucks. This is they both fucking suck for their reasons. And I understand that people are mad at Shekinah and don't want to associate with her. She's horrible. beyond this situation, she's horrible. I get it. But are we going to just sit here and pretend that Thais, if she had an opportunity, wasn't going to, potentially maim someone? There's so many things that she kind of could have said. And there's really no justification for what she said. Um, it's just, I don't know, there's no justification. There's no justification. But she felt threatened, I guess, by Thais, which I get when you are literally trying to throw glass at me and I'm going to come out with something. Don't agree with the thing you came out with. But yeah, I get why you would try to, hurt her. But you didn't just hurt her in the process. So yeah, she says that. And of course, Shekinah leaves because that's what she does. And Thais is like, I was trying to be respectful, but then she said that, no, because she says like you know, you're picking on Patrick, and she says, shut your mouth and all of this. Yeah, that's not you necessarily being respectful. No, it's not. But then the respect went out the window the minute you tried throwing glass at her. For what? For speaking how she felt about Patrick's comments? As far as I'm concerned, I feel like Patrick started the fight in the first place by opening his big goddamn fucking mouth. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. But Sarper tells her, you cannot say things like that. Doy, you're married to an immigrant. And she's like, these people are beneath me. Oh, really? Okay. All right. Like, that's fucked up. Why would you say things like that? And this is what I mean about Shekinah. She has to constantly keep digging her grave. She can't just not. But Guillermo is like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? So he goes out there and he asks, like, what happened? But Shekinah's like, no, we're not doing this, which I get. Why are you going out there? Everything is heated. Everyone is heated. The last thing you do is follow the person outside. And it's like, what do you do? Because you're clearly going out there for a response. And Sarper tells him, like, what happened. The fact that Thais threw the glass at her is the biggest part of this conversation. And Guillermo says, like, I don't give a fuck. That's not okay. Let me translate. He's saying, first of all, we started over here saying that's not okay. But yeah, no. So Guillermo says like he doesn't give a fuck, which is not good. Again, the comment was disgusting, but that doesn't justify violence. You know what I mean? But when he kind of says like, I don't give a fuck, that's not okay, it sets Harper off. And he's ready to throw hands on Guillermo. And that is essentially where we end episode 5. So we'll be back with another episode probably next week at this point. But yeah, until then, that is it for me. And that is it for this episode. If you liked what you heard, bear with me because I have not done an outro for the podcast in quite some time. So bear with me here. So if you liked what you heard, you can go to any of your favorite podcast apps. You can follow, make sure you don't miss a single episode. And you can also rate the podcast at either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It'd be greatly appreciated. As a reminder, any 5-star ratings that are given to the podcast or any comments that are given to the podcast will be read on the podcast, which I have done in the past. If you want to connect with the podcast through social media, you can find me at Facebook and Instagram at Reality T times 2. You can also find me at Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Reality times 2 pod. I believe you can email me at realityt times 2 at hotmail.com, and you can have any inquiries, anything like that, any ideas, any shows or episodes you want me to cover, you can definitely do that over there. And I am going back to our old website, and that is at solo.to/reality times 2. There you can get any of the links to anything that I didn't mention here, any of the socials, website, email, all of that. It's all there for you. And we also have a new thing there where you can help support the podcast as well. It's called a tip jar. And you could tip whatever your heart's desire if you want to support the podcast, but don't want to necessarily support the podcast in going to Patreon, for example, or any of the links in any of the advertisements. You can do it there. But since we're on the topic of Patreon, you can head on over to patreon.com/reality T times 2, where there you can get access to even more than what I do here. There are 3 different tiers where you can get these shows ad free, as well as our next tier up where you would get another reality show that's being covered. So, we have Jersey Shore that's been getting covered. That's still being covered currently at the time of recording of this outro, but the future is bright with what's to come in the future, which I will be discussing, or I have discussed. I don't even know. And then also our next tier is a true crime tier as well. So you can definitely head over for that. But that is basically it. I will also just quickly mention here too, if you're interested in a different take of a podcast that I'm a part of, we do things a little differently, you can head on over to Next Take Podcast, where I usually drop bonus episodes here on this feed, but there you get a lot more. And that podcast is making changes. We're growing, doing new things, but you can definitely head on over there if you want to just hear a little bit different than what I do over here. So you can find that podcast over at our website, solo.to/next take podcast. And there we'll have all the links to your desire that will link you to any of your favorite podcast apps or YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of it. Social medias, it's all over there. But of course, you can still find that podcast at any of your favorite podcast apps. But that is it for this episode. We'll see you next time with another episode. Bye, everybody.